And this Heritage Month, South Africans are embracing their diverse culture. Traditional healers are also instrumental in promoting the preservation of our distinct cultural values and customs. Among these is Gogo Manzini, who continues to make a significant impact in communities. She joins me now in studio to talk about Heritage Month, Heritage Weekend, her work and everything else in between. Thokoza Gogo, thokoza.
Thokozani.
Ninjani?
Siyaphila njani?
Siyaphila. So for those of us who may not be familiar with your work and your prominence, not only on social media, but the impact that you've made in the community, take us back to the calling where you were called to the traditional healing space.
Thank you. I'm Thabo Mahlangu, then married to Sindani, then changed to Thabo Sindani. I had to change the surname. And Gogo Manzini is my traditional name. It's my Dlozi name. Okay. It's a calling that I had quite a few years back that came, and I was a bit, afraid to get into it. But then once I got into it, I fell in love with it. It's such a beautiful thing. Traditional healing is one of the most important things that happens on our daily lives. And once you get into it, then you get to understand it, and then you understand the deepness, and then you get comfortable in it. It's quite one of those beautiful things that we go
and this is when it's authentic, because we also know, I mean, there has been, depending on which side of the fence you sit,
yes,
in that it's just become a fad. You know, when people are going through a phase in their lives, difficult patch, then they might assume it's a calling or it's being bewitched. So it's been diluted in many ways. Is that a concern for you?
It is a concern, because now this thing you need to be, I'm going to use a medical term, if that's the case, diagnosed. You need to be sure that you have a calling, because now once people have depression, they go through it. Once people are sick, they go through it. And now I think also we as traditional leaders or traditional healers, we've got a very big impact on misleading the people. Because now when people come to us, we are the people that tells them Uguti they've got a calling or not. So I think South African traditional healers, we've got a lot of impact in misleading people. When a person comes to you for a consultation, it is up to our hands to tell them that you are sick, you need medical help, you need this, you need that. Because now when people are struggling, they run to traditional healing. When people are sick, they run to traditional healing. And then 2 years down the line, they come back to the media and say, I'm quitting.
Yeah, or I was misdiagnosed or misled.
Exactly.
So how then do you professionalize the industry, and particularly when it comes to not only its significance, its importance, its wealth of indigenous African wisdom systems that needs to be protected and passed on to the next generation? So how do you professionalize it to get rid or erode all of these other rogue players in the space?
Unfortunately, there's no way you can. There's no way you can, but then it is up to you as a traditional healer to do your job as best as you can. Because remember, we need to understand that this job is it's not a job, it's a calling that we have. We were called to. So if we listen to the people that called us, then we will definitely do the right things. But unfortunately now, we tend to do things our way. Not now listening to the people that actually called us to do this. Because remember, this is not a choice. It's a calling. You don't decide and wake up and say, I want to.
Yeah. Okay, you've got a very unique way of healing, using bees, honey-producing bees. I mean, I thought all bees produce honey.
Yes.
But nonetheless, how do you then incorporate nature, particularly bees, in your healing practices?
I own them. That's the start. I farm them. So they are spiritual bees. They're not just bees. You know, they're spiritual. You can talk to them. You can summon them. They produce bees, and then they produce honey, and then that honey is blessed. And then when we use honey for sicknesses, that we all know, we're all aware of that. And then we use honey for money rituals. We use honey for luck rituals. Now then we get deep. When we give you the medicine or the herbs, honey will be included there. And then the bees now, they work aside in their own way. That is when we summon them. Like we give you to own a part of them. So what they act as an agent or the middleman between a businessman and their clients. So they go call clients for your business.
Okay, and I want to take it now into the spiritual realm, if you like, you know, the religion, Christianity versus traditional healing and traditional customs as well. That tends to be a bit of conflict, whether you can really serve both as an African.
As an African, you can. Remember, at first, we need to know, and we cannot run away from the fact that we are God's creatures, whether you are a traditional healer or not. So now, what happens is this: religion and tradition, you said, right? Those things, they don't clash. They go hand in hand. It's just that we, as people or human beings, we make it difficult. We are people, and we choose now. With religion, you get to choose which direction you want to take. Like spirituality, you get to choose, I'm going to be a Christian, I'm going to be a Muslim, that is a choice.
Kind of born into it as well, but I suppose later in life one can convert.
Yes, you're born into it, but you don't have a decision. You decide, okay, look, I don't want this. I want to go to this church. I want to go to this Christianity. This is the one that I'm going to follow. But now, with traditional healing, as per se, you don't have a choice. It's a calling. Yeah. But those two things, you can incorporate them. Uthixo namadlozi.
Yeah.
They work together. Because at the end of the day, we were created by God. In everything, He's a start.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Made in His image and His likeness. And this brings me to my second question in terms of the pronouns and definition of sexuality, of what people prefer to be recognized as. Or how they identify themselves to be. Whether, you know, you consider yourself as a she, or do you go by Gogo? Is it umkhulu usually would be the male?
Yes.
The more paternal, I guess.
Yes. Ugogo, like closing name.
Yes.
Okay. Ugogo is when you were entered by idlozi lomuntu wesimame.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter of your gender. You can be a male and then you can get ugogo that got into you. You can be a female and still get ugogo. And then there's umkhulu now, amakehla. Then that is when we differentiate indlela esibizwa ngayo. If you are gogo, ungene ugogo. If you are mkhulu, ungene umuntu wesilisa.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and the consultations, you know, I don't know, people don't generally publicly say these things. Good day, I'm going to, but when we go see a doctor, you come back with a doctor's note and a diagnosis and what treatment you ought to take. How does it work in the traditional healing space?
Okay, in terms of paperwork?
Yeah, consultation and what kind of remedies you have. Are these certified, for lack of a better word, or, you know, recognized by the medical health practitioners, etc.? How does it work?
With our consultation with us is ukuhlola, meaning that when you come you've got a problem, then you come to me as a traditional healer. I first consult you, meaning is getting deep into you, getting to know what is going on in your life. How am I going to assist you? That is when I get the guidelines from the ancestors. That is when we consult. And then the herbs or imit that we give you, it depends on what came out of the consultation. But in terms of the accreditations and with the medical, no, those are herbs, traditional, we dig them down from the ground.
Yeah, but I mean, the industry has evolved and a lot of gains have been made, particularly when it comes to not only the recognition, but also the approval to an extent of the practice of traditional healers.
Yes.
And this is why you see products on the shelves regarding cleansing of your blood or whatever it is, you know, tonics, etc.
You get to go there. Because now, then that is when there are doors that you need to knock in for you to get that credibility. Like there's organizations that you need to be part of. And then you're now part of the organization. And then you can do your herbs. And then you can go to companies that approves products to be on the shelves. You can. I mean, we're going big.
Yeah.
You know, we're going big. We're allowed to do whatever that we want to do. Especially we can go to pharmacies. Yeah. We can work with pharmacies and give our traditional plants. and then traditional medicine, and then mixtures, and then hand them over to then they go for the tests, and then they go to the shelf.
And you also have the client, doctor or healer, confidentiality, in the sense that what 100%. You do is very discreet.
Yes.
It's not going to be advertised that that person has come to you. But do you find when people even come and consult that they are apprehensive or slightly embarrassed or uncertain of what it is that they came to you for?
Confidentiality is the first. Because and another thing is, me as a doctor, as your healer at the time, I need to make you comfortable. And then what you came for, it should be between me and you. And we've got people that are well known that comes to our practices, but then now they don't want to be seen. It is their own, it's their own space. So we cannot force them to want to be seen. Then we arrange times at night. We get pastors coming to our practices, especially for bees and for izigubhu, things that attracts people. So now those ones, they are very private. So we have to keep it confidential, because I cannot be sitting here or telling people that pastor who comes to me for people to be full in the church.
Yeah. And does it come with a disclaimer in that if the potions or the mixture that you give a person, if that doesn't have the healing results, do you take some responsibility, or is there a disclaimer that says this may not work 100%, you may need other interventions, i.e. medical treatment?
Yes, for sicknesses. For sicknesses, when you do consultation, before you even touch a person, as a good traditional healer, you need to know that I can heal this and this one needs medical attention. That is a fact. Sometimes when someone comes into your surgery, into umbayako, you need to consult and check, look, ngingakuthinta ngemithi yesintu, or I need to refer you to a doctor or to a hospital. So we need to be very careful, because you might end up killing somebody. Because now there's sicknesses or diseases that don't want strong traditional herbs, but they want medical assistance. Like someone coming and say, they're sick.
Yeah.
I cannot keep you here and twasisa you and give you immediate strong, but I should tell you that, look, you are sick. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need to go to the doctor, take medication, and be fine.
Yeah, because, I mean, in recent years, there had been that sort of belief or misconception that if you, for example, were HIV positive and you went to a traditional healer versus taking the ARVs, one or the other, the traditional healing would be able to cure you of HIV, and which is not true. And
we cannot run away from the fact that HIV is uncurable. No one can sit here and claim that they can cure HIV.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Gogo, before we let you go, the kind of work that you've done in your community and the impact it's made, and I want to go back to traditional value systems, because if somebody comes to you, they've got a chronic disease, but they're not taking care of themselves, they're not eating properly, or whatever it is, it perpetuates, and they're sick, or maybe they don't even want to acknowledge that they're sick. They'd rather choose the traditional medicine treatment, whereas theirs is chronic and it requires a doctor. Are you able to then educate communities in that sense to say, don't consult when you know what the issue is, rather go to a specialist?
Yes. That is what we always preach. That is the work that we always tell to people. I always tell to people that, as I said, going back to our conversation earlier, that we need to be able to tell people the truth, whether they can be assisted by us traditionally or they need to be assisted by they need professional medical assistance.
Yeah. All right. So we see a lot of boards as well where people say love back potions or umsebenzi or money rituals and that kind of thing. Is it real?
It's real. I do it. Certain things are real. Love back rituals. Love back, yes. Love spells. We do that. That is so real. It's so real. It's not even funny. Money rituals. There's a misconception or not understanding. Money ritual can only be done by someone that is doing a business. Because now, when we do a money ritual, it's not that we're going to give you something and then money will pop into your bank account. Whatever that we give you, you also need to work so that you can assist it. So the only way that money can come to you as a human being is through working.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that I'm going to give you that was going to give you money.
Same thing as faith.
Exactly.
If it's not applied,
but if you come to me as a business person, wanting your business to grow, I will definitely assist you. If you come to me as a pastor, or wanting a church to be big, I will definitely
Yes,
assist you.
All right, I'm afraid we're going to have to let you go. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It was very beautiful.
Really loved having you. Traditional healer Gogo Manzini joining us in studio, talking about her work, the healing, traditional healing practices, and the honesty around the consultations as well.